The tension in the room is suffocating. We are in, to set the scene, we're in the grand, opulent court of the Egyptian viceroy, Yosef HaTzadik. He is the second most powerful man in the entire known world. Second only to Paro, that is. This is the scene. At the beginning of Parshas Vayigash, the atmosphere is one of silence. The buzz of the Egyptians in the court has died down. The guards, the Sofrim, the attendants, all watching in stunned silence as one of the Shvatim, or as they saw them, the Hebrew shepherds, is about to do the unthinkable. He's to approach the viceroy without permission. Vayigash, a love, Yehuda. Yehuda steps forward. Yosef HaTzadik, totally unrecognized by his brothers, sits elevated on his throne. The brothers stand clustered below, maybe covered in some dirt from their travels, maybe exhausted, maybe terrified, and definitely holding their Gemaras in hand. But they sit there in front of Yosef, a standoff. Standing slightly apart from his brothers, Yehuda, he steps across this invisible line of protocol as he comes closer to Yosef. This act of Vayigash, a love Yehuda, alone is dangerous. Approaching the ruler, stepping forward without reshus, without permission, it could mean certain death. The stakes are too high, though. The situation too desperate. Yosef HaTzadik, the viceroy of Egypt, has declared that Binyamin, the youngest and the most treasured son of Yaakov, must remain in Egypt as a slave because of an alleged crime, a total hoax set up by Yosef, that Binyamin stole the silver goblet of royalty. Yehuda has to step forward. He's personally guaranteed Binyamin's safety to his father, you know. He knows that if he does not do something, and God forbid does return home without Binyamin, it will literally kill his tati. Yosef, watching Yehuda step forward, can picture him. This is before he's revealed himself. He seems unyielding. He seems cold. He seems covered in Egyptian royalty and bureaucracy. Maybe even seemingly cruel if you've never heard the end of the story. Yehuda on the other side, Vayigash, fierce sense of responsibility and prepared to do whatever it takes to win the great debate. The opening moment, and Yehuda approached him. Can you feel the tension? Vayigash, a love, Yehuda, is not but a physical step. It doesn't say Vayikrav, he came close, but Vayigash, a confrontation of wills to make a plea, a quasi-battle cry. As Yehuda is about to deliver one of the most powerful speeches ever delivered in the Torah. Maybe only dwarfed by Moshe's speech in Sefer Devarim. Spoiler alert. Fast forward a bit. Yehuda is heroic. Yehuda, he won the argument. He manages to have a very systematic unpacking of the issues, to deliver a speech that would win the day. Read the psukim. He begins by reminding Yosef, we're in this situation. We never wanted to bring Binyamin. The only reason we brought him was because of you. You asked us. You forced us into this situation. Can't plague us for something that you decided needed to be done. Yehuda pulls at the nerves, at the emotional hooks by mentioning his father's pain. Please, stop this madness. Don't bring more pain to my father. If you should make one poor move, keep us in this situation, and remove Binyamin from my father, Yaakov's already old and he's already lost another son. He's lost Yosef. Benafshay keshura benafshay, his soul is bound up with Binyamin's. If you don't let Binyamin come home, you'll be murdering your old man. Yosef also hears the mentioning of the quote-unquote dead brother. Yehuda masterfully is pulling on Yosef's emotional cords. Yehuda has a personal guarantee that he voices in this argument. Arvus. He reveals his personal stake in the matter. I'm a guarantor for the boy. I can't let Binyamin not return home to his tati. A total shift. Or after some discussion, there's a grand reveal. The Vani Yosef Ha'od Avichai, everything starts to simmer down. But it all began with a Vayigash of Yehuda. Yehuda's tact, his finesse is on full display, and the lesson in success and victory we don't need to guess at, because the Midrash deduces from Yehuda's actions how success happened for Yehuda and how we too can mimic success in our own lives. Davar Acher, the Midrash Rabbah says, another matter. Vayigash love Yehuda. The pasuk says in Mishlei, Mayim amukim eitza belev ish. Pasuk says, you need to know this pasuk for the following talk, that the deep waters are the advice in the heart of man. Ve'ish chivuna yidlena. But a man of understanding can draw them out. The Midrash says, let me give you a parable, let me tell you a story as to what this pasuk means to tell. There's a cold and brilliantly refreshing well. Lebe'er amuka, malei tzonan, a deep well with cold water. V'hayumei mehal tzonan and v'yafin. And its waters were cold and juicy. Think ice cold Fiji water. Anything other than Aquafina. That stuff is gross. Think it's been through the Brita filter multiple times, and it's been put into the freezer until it's cold enough to almost freeze, but it's that perfect water. You know what I'm talking about. But nobody can reach the water because it's at the very bottom of a well. What to do? Came a man. Someone came and tied a rope to a rope. Venima benima. And tied thread to thread. Meshicha b'meshicha. And cord to cord. V'dola haimena v'shasa. And he was therefore able to use this rope to draw water from the well and drink from it. Hischilu hakol doilen haimenu v'shosen. So then after this man created this new pulley system with this long rope, I'm assuming the Midrash means he put a bucket at the end of it to draw the water out. Everyone began to draw water from it. They used his new system and device. Kach. So too says the Midrash. Lo zaz Yehuda. Yehuda did not budge. Yehuda did not relent. From what? Meshiv le Yosef davar al davar. He kept responding to Yosef on each and every matter and pulling at the cords of his heart. Ad she'omad al libo, until he finally touched his heart and was able to win. That's what the pasuk means. Like deep water is counsel in the heart of man. It's referring to the tactic that Yehuda used to win against Yosef. He kept attaching ropes and relentlessly building arguments and trying at whatever it was until you finally could get to the winning argument. 5, 6, 7 different arguments in his speech until finally something worked to lead to an Ani Yosef. Isn't this awesome? Yehuda's win? It's the wisdom of King Solomon and Mishlei that you have to find the deep, cold, and beautiful waters of success. How do you do that? You tie rope to rope. You draw at straws. You keep extending. It's a little bit dirty. You have to go cord to cord. Whatever the difference between a mashicha and a chevel is. But this is what it means. It's deep within a person's heart, deep within his eitzah, deep within his mind. That's where you'll find somewhere buried and nestled and burrowed inside of all the proper approaches to your problems. You'll finally, if you use eitzah, if you finally keep tying and connecting and building rope into rope, will you finally reach the one long cord that will connect you to the deliciously successful frozen Fiji Brita purified waters at the bottom of the well, which is metaphorically our success here. Everyone can begin to drink from the well once you've tied the rope. But how many times does Yehuda keep tying his rope? You have to see the beauty of the Midrash here. All of his argument, go through the entire speech, and you'll see how Yehuda is methodically and systematically connecting rope to rope, end of the rope to a new rope, and going deeper and pulling at Yosef's heart and connecting more ideas and thoughts until finally he's able to pull up this long makeshift rope from the recesses of his heart that he finally has the right eitzah until he was Omad al Libo Shel Yosef. Oh, how marvelous is this, friends, for our Vayigash HaKodesh. Mayim amukim eitzah b'leivish. In the deep water, somewhere down there is finally the eitzah that you'll find in the heart of man. You'll be able to draw it with v'ish tivuna yidlenu. You have to use your tefuna, you have to use your seichel, you have to think to draw it out. The Malbim has an unbelievable way of explaining this pasuk. He explains how there's different ways that you can get to this piece of advice, to tie rope to rope. I urge you to see it in Perek Chaf pasuk Hey. But he explains how you can either use this chachma, that people can tell you wisdom and you can learn wisdom from people. Or you can try to use bina and tevuna, which is about understanding and discerning one matter from one, and then connecting that to the next thing to launch your large web and strings until you finally come to that aha moment that can be deduced by tying strings to strings, by drawing it up from the depths of your soul with your bina, with your understanding, even without anyone else teaching it to you. If you want to draw it up from yourself and not just use wisdom and hear it from other people, Rak al yedei koyach habina shemeven davar mitoich davar vayivshot bekoach binaso akol chelke asoser liros min hakol hamoin hamachshavas eza hatov mikulam. Which is the best way that I should use to get my first listing at the house? Which is the best way that I can finally say over this argument in court in a way that will pull at the judge's heart or at the jury's heart? Use hakiros hevinam alidei haakeshim toime kedoila mayim amukim amuk. It's like tying rope to rope, connecting piece of wisdom to another piece of wisdom. Shemekasher chevel bechevel al yoyri kidei el amayim. This Malbim reads the pasuk in Mishlei with the most beautiful and eloquent explanation of how wisdom works and deduction and deductive reasoning works. Until you keep tying rope to tying rope, connecting one thing to the next until you finally come out with that nekuda ha'emes, through your power of understanding. Logical deductions one to another until you bring forth the truth through the power of understanding of the deliciously cold and pleasant, effervescent waters of success. Noira. That's what Yehuda did. That's the lesson. That's how success is done. No matter what you're doing, it takes either just hearing the chachma from a wise man, but if you want to draw it from your soul, if you want to expound lessons, if you want to get to the depth of the topic, you need to tie rope to rope, quite literally. Why am I not praying well, a person will say. Why am I not winning in business? Why do I keep sinning in this area? Tie rope to rope and you'll get to the truth. Well, I'm tired in the morning. That's probably why I'm not davening well. Why am I tired in the morning? Let's attach that rope to the next rope. The previous night, I was up watching TV shows till the nth hour. Why am I watching TV shows? Let's connect that rope to, well, I like enjoyment. I need something to do to keep me busy. Let's connect that rope to, should I be more disciplined? Should I give this up for something better? Or am I content with this? Why does the market move? Why is there tension? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Is the real estate market good or is it poor? Why are houses not flying off the market like they used to? Let's connect rope to rope, go deeper and make logical deductions until you finally pull up the mayim amukim belev ish, the eitzah that finally is the truth, until you understand the matter. That's what Yehuda did until he was oimed al libo shel Yosef. And he was successful and he never stopped tying ropes. Kesher to a kesher. He never stopped tying cord to cord. Nima to nima. Thread to thread. From the time that he stepped forward with a Vayigash of Yehuda until finally he was able to save Binyamin. Save the Shiftei Ka. Save Klal Yisrael as we know it. He kept drawing, connecting ropes until he got to the Eitzah, the Nakuda Ha'emes. This will solve our problems, folks. This will make us successful. We take a play out of Yehuda's playbook. We internalize the lesson of Yehuda and the lesson of the Pasuk in Mishlei. That the answer lies somewhere inside of you, no matter what issue you have. You just may not have tied enough ropes to get to the bottom of it. You may not have logically deduced enough calculations that you've gotten to the fresh and cold truth of the matter. Think. Think. Deeply think. Deduce. Use your head. God gave you a good head. Because therefore, you too can step forward. And all of the tension, and all of the silence and all of the terror. You can also pull off a Vayigash, a stepping forward. You just have to be relentless. You have to be relentless with the way that you tie ropes. You need to keep building until you finally get there, and keep calculating and keep adjusting and keep manipulating and keep pivoting. Because if you haven't gotten to the truth, maybe you haven't deduced enough with enough honesty, intellectual honesty, and maybe you haven't actually hit the cold water. If you would stop, if Yehuda would have stopped the same way we would stop, God forbid we all would not be successful. But it is this week that we note that sometimes we need to tie another rope to go a little bit deeper. It's this week that we put our samurai sword and stab it into the ground and say, enough is enough. Let's get to the root of the matter and figure out how success will be done. We step forward with confidence, not arrogance, with humility and with hard work and with unbreakable will, resiliency. With the utmost resilience, we keep tying ropes one to the next until we get to the very bottom of this long well where all of the delicious, pure, and freezing cold ice waters of truth and success live. Good Shabbos to you. You should be matzliach in all that you do. Keep tying those ropes and remain relentless in your approach and mindset to achieve success.
Kilam kedoshim